All right, it looks like we are live. Everyone, welcome to another episode of Musician Monday. I'm Corey with the Grand Rapids Symphony, and just like last week, I have another double interview today. Please welcome from our viola section, Olga Ziabrikova, and from our trumpet section, Charley Lee. Thank you both for being here today.
Thanks. Nice to be here. Thank you for having us.
Hi.
Yes, and you guys have been with the organization for a long time now, so it's nice to interview you to get to know some of your backstory. And I want to remind folks that if you have questions throughout this interview, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll definitely get to them at the end of our list of pre-recorded questions. So let's start off with the first question I ask everyone, and it's how long have you been part of the GRS orchestra?
Well, I started in 2001, so that would be almost 20 years. And it seems that just like yesterday.
Yeah. And this coming season, which will be like no other, will be my 30th season in the orchestra. And it sounds like a big number, but it still feels new to me, very exciting. Always happy to be here, be there.
And yeah, and one thing for you too, Charley, I've noticed, we wrote about this a while ago, but you're the principal trumpet player, but you've kind of had this ascension from a little farther down the line to the principal role. So that's really interesting for you as well.
Yeah, it was a interesting step to take that I took. I was 24 seasons as second assistant principal, and when that opportunity came, I decided to go for it. It's very, very rewarding, really hard work, but I love doing it. So
that's great. And if you don't mind me asking, how long have you two been together? Because obviously you're a couple who work for the same organization, so I'm always curious about that as well.
Well, we got married in
2012.
12.
How dare you forget?
2012. So we've been married for almost 8 years now, and we've been dating a couple of years before that.
That's wonderful. And so you guys met. When I spoke with Joe and Will last week, I realized they had met in college, but did you two meet in the orchestra then?
Well, yes. Usually, when in a social setting, when people ask this question, Charley always tells them that I was a mail order bride.
Yes, she was very.
Yes. But the truth of it is, yes, we met in the orchestra.
Okay, Olga, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, that's so funny. So let's talk about your instruments. Olga, you play viola. Charley plays trumpet. What led you to choose your instruments? Was it something that I like to think sometimes the instrument chooses the musician, but that's not always the case. So I'm just curious to know how you got into your instrument.
You want to start?
I don't mind.
Okay.
I like to say that I decided I was going to be a trumpet player when I was 5 years old. That's fairly accurate. In the mid-late 60s, my parents had the Herb Alpert and Tijuana brass LPs, which we wore out. I could listen to that all day, even still. So I was attracted to the trumpet immediately. I know I went through a drum phase where I thought I wanted to play the drums, but I'm glad that didn't work out. They have to carry around so much stuff.
So am I. And I started playing violin when I was 6, and my parents wanted me to go, take lessons and play a musical instrument. All of my siblings actually went through the same thing. My brother played trumpet and my sister played violin. So I started playing violin, and then my dad, who was sort of an amateur singer, had quite a bit of musician friends. And one time he had some, I can't remember now, I think it was a string quartet that came and played. And I really liked the sound of the viola. And so I eventually switched when I was 14.
Very good. It's funny that Charlie you mentioned Herb Alpert because my son is 3, and when he was months old, I would sit in front of the record player and play Herb Alpert and Tijuana Brass, just to see how he would respond. And he was very energized by the brass section. He I bought him a drum set this year, but I'm hoping that maybe one day he'll be a brass player. I don't know, but if that happens, I'll be okay with it. So either way, he's going to be a loud musician. It's all right. So.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Another question I usually ask is your specific instruments that you play on stage. Is there anything unique about your specific viola or trumpet that you play with?
The instrument that I play is, I think the unique part of it is that it's quite large for a viola. It's 17 inches and a quarter, which is on the bigger side for violas because they're normally in the range of between 16 and 16 and a half. That's a good comfortable range. But the reason I never looked for a big instrument, but when I was searching for a viola to buy, one of the instruments that I loved, I actually fell in love with this instrument right away, and it was made in Kalamazoo by a guy named Scott Tribby. He's a luthier who lives there. In the process of choosing the instrument, I traveled all over the country trying violas here and there. You know, we went to Seattle and Boston and New York and New Jersey. But it's kind of ironic that the instrument that I really fell in love with was made just 52 miles from here. It's a beautiful viola. It sounds amazing. We're actually playing a Porsche concert tonight with my colleague and friend Kristen Shaw. And I will be playing that viola. So if any of you want to come and see us do that, it's going to be at 7 o'clock at 459 Overbrook in Alger Heights. And my friend Kristen is quite entertaining, so you do not want to miss that.
Same question.
Yep.
I guess I would say that the trumpets that I use and play in the orchestra number 6, 8, 10 different horns. They come in all different keys and sizes and different colors. But so we end up with quite a collection. But and they're really not that complicated. I mean, it's just plumbing that we make sound nice. But I would say that I have probably 4 or maybe 5 very special instruments that were either given to me or I bought from former teachers, which makes them very special.
Definitely.
And some of them I might play regularly, and some I just get out once in a while and just admire it, be glad that I have it, and think about them. So
That's really special that you can tie most of your horns, if not all, to memories of people who've helped build you and helped establish you to where you are. That's great.
yeah.
Olga, one question I have for you though, you mentioned how your viola is a little longer. When you have a longer instrument, does that affect like your posture with your playing as opposed to what it might traditionally be?
It doesn't really affect the posture, but if you're not careful in maintaining your endurance down the road, it can really affect your ability to play. A lot of people get injured if they are not approaching bigger instruments correctly. It's not really, if you think about this, the difference between my instrument and let's say what Kristen plays is only probably 3/4 of an inch, which doesn't seem like much, but it is. Because when you hold your arms up, if your arms are a little bit more extended, that adds to the fatigue. So that's the only thing that I can think of.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I was always curious about that. Thank you for explaining that. My next question, I know it's a loaded question and not everyone can answer it to the way they like, but do either of you have a favorite composer, and why that composer?
No, you go first.
I have a favorite composer. It's different every day, seems. Since the quarantine in March, I actually listened and studied a lot of Haydn's music and really loved that. Lately, it's Stravinsky. I know in one of the questions you asked in the email that you to prepare for this, you asked about different musicians or bands, and I want to give a shout out to two of my favorites, the greatest of all time, John Coltrane, and the greatest band of all time, I think, is Rush. And I spent a lot of time listening to those two as well.
I love that. Olga, yeah, same question for you.
For me, it probably would be Russian composers. So I love Rachmaninoff. That's always my favorite. I like just like the expanse of his melodies. It's hard to explain what it makes me feel like. Are you familiar with music by Copland?
To an extent, yeah. But I mean, you can talk about it. That's fine. Yeah.
So Copland for me is sort of like a quintessential Americana. So when you listen to his music, you can really almost like smell the air in the mountains and things like this. And so Rachmaninoff is that for me in terms of Russia. So I just love the way it makes me feel. The next one is probably Prokofiev. So his music is quite different, but his use of intervals and his ability to make the melody very unique is amazing. You can never mix him with anybody else.
Very good. And since Charlie kind of answered the question, my other question, do you have any other favorite styles of music that are not symphonic or chamber music?
I love jazz, but I don't have a favorite. I like good jazz. I don't have a favorite names, but I can just turn the music on and tell you if I like it or not. So.
Yes, a trumpeter liking jazz, right? That's the standard, right? Almost, it would seem like. It's good though. Yeah, I love good jazz. I was listening to Charlie Parker earlier this week, actually, on vinyl on my record player back there. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So my next question, leading up to a concert, as you prepare yourself to get on stage, do you have any sort of traditions or pre-performance rituals that you have to do or that you try to maintain before you go on stage?
You go first.
I always stretch before a concert or before a performance. Before a performance or rehearsal. It doesn't matter. If there's going to be a viola in my hands, I do this certain routine with stretching, and it's sort of backstage, in a little corner, and it kind of clears my head and just gets me ready for whatever there is to come.
I guess I can say for sure that I'm always in my chair at least 10 minutes before the downbeat or tuning out or whatever. And I know that I always take just a few minutes or a minute even just to breathe really well, sort of clear my mind, and so I can really focus on what it is that we're about to do. So
that's all great practices. I haven't heard stretching yet, though. That's a great one. I have all the interviews I've had so far. No one said stretching yet, but that's good to know, and it's important too. So, my next question for both of you is: if there was another instrument in the orchestra that you could choose to play, what do you think that would be?
I would play harp.
I didn't know
it's
that.
such a glamorous instrument. It's like you have your, you have your own world by yourself, and you can be as glamorous and amazing as you want to be.
I'm sure Beth is going to love to hear that you said that.
Yes.
Do I have to answer? Okay.
You don't have to if you don't want to. It's all right.
No, I think I'm gonna go off the board a little bit. I think I'd be a conductor.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'd be very mysterious. Wear like a cape.
Oh,
and maybe like a mask. No.
I hope our production team is taking notes for all this right now. That's wonderful. I like that a lot. That's a really good response. Both of those are actually. And usually I hear either cello or I hear French horn because people always talk about how the French horn gets all the best melodies and in the Wagner and the Mahler and the Williams and everything. So,
Hmm.
Mm.
if you guys could choose another career, I should say, besides a professional musician, do you have any idea what that would be?
Yes. Formula One race car driver.
Oh wow,
No,
That's
but
cool.
seriously, I used to read uh, true crime books, and I was always fascinated by that. I would probably be a forensics person.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I was actually thinking about the same thing a while ago, but now during the quarantine,
She would be a spy.
I am a spy. um, During the quarantine, I sort of got into some furniture refurbishing and some home improvements. So I think that is something that I would be interested in. Maybe some furniture making or interior design. So that's a pretty cool, I think, field. Oh.
Those are both really good, really good. So the question is, Charlie, do you drive already like a Formula One race car driver?
No, I don't. I drive very conservatively, actually.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
yeah, I'm fascinated by that. That
Very,
sound.
very cool. That's wonderful. Yes. My next question is, do either of you have any hidden talents, any special skills we might not know about?
And we can talk about.
No,
Um,
I don't know.
I can spin stuff sometimes. On
He's really good at he's
I can
really good
spin
at
plates.
plates. Yeah.
I think that is a great skill to have. Skill to have. You need to get the what they do the sticks with the plates that they juggle all of them at once.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, I don't have any hidden talents.
You can.
Your
She can
talent
fix.
is all your talent is just out there, Olga. That's great. Like
That's right.
everyone, there you
Yes.
go.
Yes.
Okay, folks, we're down to our last couple questions. If you have anything you want to ask, Charlie or Olga, feel free to put them in the chat. I do see a couple questions already. But my next question is, with this quarantine, obviously things are very different from what we're all used to. But what sort of things are you both doing at home to stay centered? I know Olga, you mentioned like home interior design stuff, but anything else you guys are doing to help keep your sanity?
Um, just normal things that anybody else would be doing. Exercising, reading. I got into gardening this year because normally we're not here in the summer, so I never get to, sort of tend to my flower bed. So that was kind of cool. I even I even grew some tomatoes this year, which was the first one for me,
Hmm.
and they're getting red.
Very good.
So you said what do we do to stay centered or
Yeah,
sane?
what stuff are you doing
Um,
just to keep yourselves, some semblance of structure, I guess.
well, for me, the first thing would be it would have been so easy to just put the trumpet down and not play for 2 months or something, uh, which isn't always a bad thing. But I've been really good about just getting to the trumpet, just basic fundamentals every day, good practicing. Um, Even a couple days off would drive me crazy. So that, and when I do that and I feel good about it, that sort of helps me, maintain myself throughout the day. So
Very good. Yeah, I've had a lot of our musicians say that they're still obviously practicing every day and just we're and for some people it's revisiting old pieces of music they haven't gotten to play in years. Some
mhm.
people it's trying new stuff just to see how far they can push themselves a little more. Do you tend to lean one way or another in terms of what you practice with?
I tend lately to just get a good routine in, good fundamentals, warming up, um, trying to figure out what it is we might be playing this year, and working on some things like that. How do you?
I'm sorry, I missed the question. I was thinking about Rachmaninoff.
Uh,
Well, the question was, when you practice now during quarantine, do you tend to revisit music you haven't been able to play or haven't had the chance to play in a while, or do you try to look to new things that maybe that you want to try to that you haven't had a chance to play yet that you want to just hone your skills with?
It's mainly just sort of a maintenance routine with some technical stuff that things that I always do, and then I did learn a couple of new pieces that I. It's not that I always wanted to play them. It's just that I kind of went through some books and found things that sounded good to me, and I thought, oh, I might as well just try this. So
mhm.
I did.
Very good. All right, well, that's the end of my questions. Looks like I do have one question for you that I'll actually tie into my last question because it is related. So I always ask, do you have any favorite memories of playing with the orchestra or during your time with the orchestra? But the question we had from somebody was, what is your greatest memory performing together? So let's talk about some of our favorite memories, and you can talk about individual ones, or you can talk about them as that you've experienced together as a couple, however you'd like.
Hmm.
Hmm. Um, I would say first of all, our two performances at Carnegie Hall um, really stand out. Very special opportunities to get to play in that space. Um, and going way back to maybe 1998 or nine, we did a Mahler Symphony Number 8, and we added the university, what was it? University Musical Society chorus of the University of Michigan. Played that concert here twice, and then played it on a Sunday at Hill Auditorium, and that
Wow,
was with Catherine Comey. I've been here a long time, so those are very special moments. Something else will come to me later, but I can't think of anything else at the
Well,
moment.
I wasn't part of that. The last thing that Charlie mentioned, the Mahler. But for me, I always look forward to the. I mean, I love classical concerts, and there are some highlights for sure. But I always look forward to the pops concerts where the trumpets are involved, and all that sort of kind of rowdy, beautiful, screaming stuff. That sounds terrible. It's not really screaming, but it kind of gets you going. And I always look forward to hearing him play on that because he sounds fantastic, I think.
that's wonderful. That's so great. Yeah, I was able to be here for the last Carnegie Hall trip, which was really special. Just because we got to bring the chorus with us, and it was my first time being at Carnegie Hall. But there are lots of great memories, and each concert is so unique because even if it's a concert that we play over multiple nights, every performance of it is its own unique little beautiful organic thing. So I think that's what makes the classical music so great is that every performance is unique in the sense that that moment exists for that point in time, then it's gone. um,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
kind of tragic too because you may never get your favorite version of something recorded like that. You hope it is, but sometimes it doesn't happen that way.
Right.
Right.
All right, well, looks like we are all done with today's interview. Charlie, Olga, thank you so much for being here. It's great to talk to you, and I hope you guys stay safe. Everyone out there, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Yes.
All right.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks.